The time has come for the Cobra to rise up and reveal himself.
So now, what causes one nation to demand another nation's currency? Let's take a look at our little list here. And as we go through this list, we'll also notice that fiscal and monetary policy, fiscal policy when the Federal Reserve creates policies to either stimulate or contract income, and monetary policy when the Federal Reserve creates policies to have the effect of raising or decreasing interest rates. These are going to also affect this list. So first and foremost is just demand for a nation's exports. Does one nation want to buy what the other nation has? If it does so, it has to demand that nation's currency. 2, relative interest rates. Now, when we think of interest rates between nations, we are not thinking of one nation borrowing from another nation. We're thinking of people in nation A putting their money in nation B's banks, or vice versa. So, relative interest rates. Does nation B have a better interest rate, a higher interest rate than nation A? If it does, the people of nation A might want to put their money in nation B's banks. And this is something that would cause what's called capital outflow, money leaving a nation. So nation A would experience what is called capital outflow. And nation B would experience what is called capital inflow. Money is leaving one country and flowing into another country. So if nation B has higher relative interest rates, people of nation A would take the money out of their banks, and you'd see a decrease in the amount of the supply of their loanable funds, and an increase in nation B's banks and an increase in supply in their banking system and their loanable funds as people from nation A put their money in nation B's banks. So the Federal Reserve has a lot of power that is beyond also just the internal economics of a country. It has a large effect on where people in different nations are putting their money. Relative income and real GDP, more of a fiscal policy approach, but if nation A is experiencing an increase in income, they're just going to have more spending power in general. So they're going to be able to buy not just products in their own nation, but they'll be able to import products as well. So we can assume that if a general increase in income occurs, or increase in GDP, because remember, GDP the income approach is the same as GDP. So if you see an increase in GDP, note that GDP is also income. So just be careful. Test likes to sneak that in there, that GDP and income, remember the national income approach is the same as real GDP. So just be careful if you see, well, what's happening with GDP here relates to income. So if the GDP of one nation is high, the income of that nation is also high, we could assume, because there's production, there's increase in income, hopefully an increase in wages, and there's just general buying power across the board and spending across the board. We could assume that people of nation A, with their increase in income, can also buy nation B's products. Inversely, if nation A is experiencing a recession, there's just not a lot of spending going on, and therefore nation B will experience a loss of income as well as nation A is experiencing a recession. They're not going to be buying their products. So, and this is really, we see this in the Great Depression, where you have this worldwide depression, no one's buying anything, and there's also there's a massive decrease in just exports across the board, exacerbated by a tariff war initiated by the American Smoot-Holding tariff and then just reciprocated negatively across each other, across the world. So that's why the Great Depression is just like this spiral out of control of this bad economy. And so you have people not buying each other's products, and so inversely here, that a decrease in income, you're going to see a decrease in the demand for nation B's products as well. The people are not going to be buying products anywhere. And with the interconnectedness of the world, that's what also spirals in recessions into potentially international recessions and international depressions, as we see in 1929 into the early 1930s. Smoot-Hawley tariff, not Holding, Hawley tariff. Okay, political and economic stability. This results in what is called foreign direct investment. Where do businesses want to, if businesses are going to put their money internationally into another country, they want to put their money into a country with a secure political system, a secure economic system, and also a secure banking system. They want to make sure their money is going to yield profit. If they build a factory in another country, they want to make sure they are building a factory in a stable environment that is going to have lots of return. And when a nation does that, so we see that's called so it's investment spending in the sense of capital investment, capital resource investment, which is called foreign direct investment. Is money from another nation is another nation's businesses setting up shop in nation B? Is nation B a desirable place to set up shop? Maybe it's from tax codes, maybe it has a place they just want to put their money in their banking system, it's a good government, it's a growing economy, favorable economic laws, so nation A's businesses are just going to set up shop, factories and such, foreign direct investment into nation B. They're going to invest in building in that country. Relative prices, if nation A is experiencing high inflation, the consumers of nation A are going to look for other, especially in a flatter world where you have access to so many different products internationally, that the people of nation A might search elsewhere for cheaper products. Inversely, the people of nation B are not going to want to buy products from nation A because nation A is suffering from massive inflation. So therefore it costs more. If it costs more for their own citizens to buy the product, the people of nation B are not going to touch nation A's products. So they're going to have to convert even more of their currency just to buy one of nation A's products. So inflation is bad across the board. Inflation wrecks an internal economy, and it steers foreigners away from buying our products as well. And also steers away foreign direct investment. Businesses are not going to invest in a country suffering from rampant inflation. And lastly, good old-fashioned gambling, speculation. Does a person in nation A think nation B's currency is going to appreciate? If it does, then let's say their currency is low, so they buy, let's say for $1, they buy $1,000 of their currency. When nation B's currency appreciates, where instead of $1 buys 1/1000th of their dollars, so one American dollar can buy 1,000 of nation B's dollars, now let's say it becomes 1-to-1. Now what that person's done is now they have 1,000 of those dollars, they flip it back to nation A's currency, they can now buy 1,000 American dollars with that currency. So it's an interesting way to gamble. If nation B has a depreciated currency, but the person has a hunch they're moving in the right direction, they're probably experiencing and on the road to political and economic stability. It's a place where other nations are investing in. Nation B is going to start appreciating. Then that speculator could take the newly appreciated nation B's currency, flip it back into American currency, and now they've made some money. So, but first they have to buy nation B's currency. So currency speculation is an interesting form of gambling. You're gambling on the success or failure of other nations. Just like you're gambling with stock speculation, you're gambling on the success, or you buy a stock because you expect it to go up in value. So in currency speculation, you buy another currency because you expect that nation to do well and their currency to appreciate in value. Now let's take a look at, for our last part, is it better to have an appreciated or a depreciated currency?